bird on a tree. I'm just sitting here. I got time. It's clear to see from up here. The world seems small. We can sit together. It's so beautiful, you and me. We meant to be in the great outdoors, forever free. Take a step back to see the truth around you. From a distance you can tell. You and me, meant to be outdoors, forever free. You and me, meant to be in the great outdoors, forever free.
Hello, cousin. I am Uncle Mike, your favorite gamer's favorite uncle. And this is Thursday. And we are going to do a flight that I did also out of Prescott. And we're going to head north up to the Grand Canyon. There's actually VFR corridors that are published that allow us to fly over the Grand Canyon. So we're going to do some sightseeing. I did that flight also in the morning, and so that is why I've already loaded up Flight Sim here. In the morning, we are pretty much ready to go. We'll look at a few things once we get in the airplane here, but everything is looking good. But let's go ahead and do a few things. Is thumbs up because you are amazing. Go out there, tell somebody else they're amazing, and put a smile on their face. Also, that like button, huh? Click that like button, huh? And let's activate the algorithm. So remember, right? Thumbs up because you are amazing. But yep, let's go ahead and jump right here into the airplane, and let's go ahead and start. Let's get it cranked up and let's get going. So here we are in the airplane. Everything's looking good. I've already done pre-flight. We got plenty of fuel, but we can check that. So let's go ahead and turn the battery on. Let's go ahead and turn the avionics on right here. And let's go ahead here and come out and let's get ATC, and let's go ahead and dial in to the automatic information system here.
Prescott Airport information, Quebec 1300 Zulu. Wind 260 at tree. Visibility, niner. Sky condition, clear. Temperature, 15. Dew point, 13. Altimeter, 29.902.
Alright, so everything's looking good. We'll go ahead and just turn the ground here. Let's go ahead and turn off the avionics. I can show you, I've already gone in and I've already preloaded all of our flight plan. So that's all preloaded in. That's one neat thing about Microsoft Flight Simulator, even on the Xbox, is that you can go into map mode and you can preload using the map mode your flight plan, then decide if you want to do VOR, which we did last flight, or you can do GPS, which is what we're doing this flight, or you can also do instrument, whether you want to do you know, IFR, instrument flight rules, either the low level or the high altitude stuff. So let's go ahead and turn off the battery. There we go. And so yeah, we are doing a GPS flight, a VFR GPS flight. I went ahead in the sim here, and we're going to do again another morning flight. Also clear skies, nice Arizona, spring Arizona, early summer Arizona. It was beautiful flying out there in real life. Flew just about all the time for 2 years or so out there while I was getting my aerospace engineering degree. That sun though is going to be pretty bright there in the windshield, so let's go ahead and there we go. Now I feel like a pilot. And let's go ahead and get this puppy cranked up. So let's go ahead and put the part, make sure the parking brake is set. We'll come down here, we'll go ahead and turn on the battery again. Make sure mixture here is full rich. Go ahead and turn the beacon on, since that way we got some anti-smash lights going on, since we are operating the aircraft now. It's not moving, but we are operating it. So let's go ahead and turn the fuel pump on for a little bit. Get some fuel pressure and all that built up in the lines. There we go. Turn that off. All right, everything is looking good. I'm going to pull just a little bit of it lean. We're at high altitude, almost 5,000 or above 5,000 feet here. So as always, when we go down to do our run up, we will go ahead and lean out the airplane for some nice RPM here. Let's go ahead and give it some power. And yeah, we're ready for start. So let's come over here and get over, and here we go. Bad start, huh? Oh, I didn't use a checklist. So first fail of the night. Didn't use the checklist, kind of doing it for memory, so forgot to actually push in the fuel cutoff there. So let's go ahead and do this all again. There was no fuel in the system, so let's push in that and turn on the fuel pump again. I was making errors in my airplane because I didn't use the checklist. All right, now we should get a good start here. There we go. Nice. And go ahead and let it sit here for 1,000 RPMs. Oops, and let's go over here to our engine instruments and take a look. Things looking good. We got oil pressure, that's what we want to make sure. And so yeah, looks like the engine is doing good there. So let's now go ahead and turn on the alternator. So now we got some amps. We've got amps now, and let's go ahead and turn on the avionics. All right, let's come up here then, and let's look at our flight plan. So we can come down here and flight plan. Let it load up here in the computer. There is our flight plan. And so what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and make sure. I've been kind of studying up here on this. So we are going to go ahead and enter that, then menu, and then enter that. So now we've got the first leg here of our pre-programmed in flight. So basically this is fly north up to the Grand Canyon. It's pretty simple. And then there's some pre-programmed in GPS routes and waypoints. So it's going to be just a nice flight here this morning up to take us probably about 40 minutes, 45 minutes to get up to the Grand Canyon. And then we'll do a loop around the Grand Canyon. We'll cross over, then a little bit to the east and then back to the south, cross back over it, and then head home here to Prescott. So all right, everything is looking good. We're not going to need any flaps or anything like that. I am going to go here and go ahead and turn on strobe and nav. We're not really going to need any. I'm going to go ahead and we're kind of here in the morning, go ahead and turn on the landing light. That way we're all set at the end of the runway here. Let's come over here, and it's VFR, so we'll go ahead and get the transponder warming up down there, and then we'll bring up the checklist for run up, so we can go ahead and make sure that we turn that to altitude mode. We might do VFR Flight Following en route up to the Grand Canyon. We might check that out, see what they do here, but let this all look up. So we've contacted weather, we've got the flight plan ready to go, so everything is looking good. I like it. We've got amps, positive amps over here, so everything is charging up. Vacuum's coming up. Oil pressure will come up as we let the engine warm up and everything. Fuel. Local time, you can see there, is at 7:19. So we got 28 volts. So everything is looking real good. I like it. And there we are. There is our airplane. It's the same livery as what we flew last time, except for we are now in 36 Uncle Mike Mike, or you will hear uniform Mike Mike. That's the actual code. So, but I like Uncle Mike Mike, but we will hear November 36 uniform Mike Mike is our tail number here today. So, but GPS flight, we can also go ahead and program in. We can go ahead and turn on the autopilot, and we can go ahead and zero the heading bug, or we can actually set the heading bug. We're going to be taking off on runway 21, so we'll go ahead and set that to straight out for 21, and then we'll make a right turn and go direct to Drake. So we can actually go ahead and do that also if we wanted to go direct Drake. Yeah, we might want to go ahead and set that up, go direct Drake. So let's see here, we can come over here. We won't do direct Drake because it's going to take us right from the airport. So we'll do time to climb here on the old instruments there. But we were working on the autopilot, and so what we can also do is we are going to go ahead and climb up. Eventually we're going to need to climb up to 10,500. On the return, we're going to have to go, we're going to be having a actually 11,500, but the first part is we're going to be going really to the west, so that's evens plus 500 feet. So we can go ahead and set this up for 10,500 feet. We're at altitude, so we'll go ahead and set it for now for 500 feet per minute, knowing that as we climb we're going to have to make that less because we're flying in a Cessna 172 here. This thing doesn't have a lot of oomph in it. So, but it's the plane that I flew in, so I like to make Microsoft Flight Sim feel real to me. So, and it's just a good training aircraft. It's got full instruments and all that, so it's really a lot of fun to do that. So, all right, well, let's go ahead and contact. Oh, that's a nice shot right through the window there like that. But let's go ahead and bring up ATC, and we are tying in. So we are going to be doing really a departure to the north. So
Prescott ground, Cessna November Tree 6 uniform Mike request taxi for north departure with Romeo.
Cessna November Tree 6 uniform Mike taxi to and hold short of runway 21 left by taxiway cross runway 12 cross runway tree right Bravo Alpha. Contact tower on 125 decimal.
yeah, I got you. That's
Taxiing hold short runway 21 left using taxiway cross runway 12 cross runway tree right Bravo Alpha Cessna uniform.
all right. So they want me to go all the way around, so we can do that. It's kind of a long way to go, but we can do that. So parking brake is off. Here we go. We shall start our taxi here to 21 left. Go ahead and get centered up here on the taxiway.
Cessna uniform Mike hold position caution, the generic on final.
Yeah, see, it thinks I'm somewhere else. So I'm going to come up here to the hold line. The taxiing doesn't work so well here. So we'll come up to these hold lines here. We'll hold for...
Cessna uniform. Mike, please
Oh,
acknowledge.
yeah, I got you.
Cessna uniform. Mike, continue.
All right, yep, I got you.
Roger, Cessna uniform, Mike.
All right. So a lot of times what happens is it thinks I'm somewhere else on the airport. So maybe I ought to try cold start down here on this ramp. But eventually we'll probably relocate from our home airport here in Prescott once we're done. I've really got like about one more flight maybe that I'd like to do that I did in the real world a lot of times, which was actually fly from Prescott here down to Phoenix Sky Harbor at night. So we might want to think about doing a night flight sometime. See, it thinks I'm like, I think over there, it has me cross. It's weird. I don't know. I'm gonna stay here on Delta and just go on down. If it decides that it wants to yell at me, it can yell at me. 3 right is that runway right there at 11 o'clock. And we're going to be taking off on 2-1 here, which is right there. So it's kind of weird. But that's just, you know, that's the computer for you. You're doing, and you can't do like VATSIM or anything. So you can't do real controllers like they do on the PC, on the Xbox. So we do the best we can. So yeah, way over there is where I think it thinks we're at. That ramp over there, and so it has us sometimes do that. It's like cross at Bravo Alpha Y. We're not even gonna get close to that runway. We'll just stay right here. So looking good. We'll come down here, we'll do a run up, and then away we go to the Grand Canyon. Might actually have to do maybe another flight, because this is out here where the meteor crater's at too. I did a little flight. Maybe when I'm going to do a shorter flight, we could do the flight that I did over the meteor crater. That's in my logbook too. Got just hardly a breath of wind. Winds are real calm. Look at that. That's just a limp windsock right there. All right, do a little different here in this run up. What we'll do is we'll come in here and come in like this, then turn into the wind. There's not really any wind, but that's... We'll just go ahead and kind of turn us around here like this. There's nobody here, so I'm not too worried about it. Put the parking brake on. Let's go ahead and come down here. Now let's go to 1800 RPMs. Parking brake is set. You can see it there. All right, 1800 RPMs. Let's go ahead and start backing out the mixture here. See the RPMs going up as we lean this out. Not flooding it. There, it's starting to come back down. So there we go. Go ahead and back that off back to 1800 then. So we gained 100 RPMs by leaning out the engine. There we go. All right, let's check the magnetos. Let's check right. See that drop? Looking good. Back over here, let's check the air side. So let's check the lefts. That's looking good. Vacuum looks good, amps look good, oil pressure looks good, temps look good, fuel looks good. Fuel flow looks good. Let's come over here and now let's, there we go. Go ahead and set that. The transponder is on. Come over here. Everything is looking good. Let's go ahead and switch our avionics to GPS mode. We are about here to just go ahead and climb out, and we're gonna, like I said, fly over there to Drake VOR. We know where that's at from even the last flight. Let's go ahead and check our heading indicator. That is off, so let's check that. What are we looking for? So basically about 281. Yep, looking good. All right, heading indicator looks good. Come back. All right, landing light is already on. We are ready to go. Let's go ahead and parking brake comes off. Let's go get in line. Nobody's here with us. Okay. We are set to go. Let's bring up ATC. Let's go ahead and tune tower. Let's go get it. Let's go.
Prescott Tower, Cessna November Tree, 6 uniform, Mike ready at runway 21 left departure to the north.
Cessna November Tree, 6 uniform, Mike altimeter, 29er, 2 wind 260 lip tree. Traffic is generic,
All right.
on final. Departure to the north approved.
Got the plane on final.
Off runway 21 left.
All right, let's call it.
Cleared for takeoff runway 21 left, Cessna uniform, Mike.
There we go. There must be like an incline right here because it takes a lot of power to get going here. Just kind of do a roll in. Here we go. No reason to line up and wait or position a hold, and let's just go. All right, and we're off. And yes, I am controlling it here with the controller. So we are flying with the controller here. Airspeed is alive, coming through 40 knots. We'll rotate it about 60 because we're, like I said, we're high, so we got this high density altitude. Let's just go ahead and stay in ground effect, or at least low, gain some speed here. 70 knots. Oh, we made that guy go around. They cleared us, but now they made them go around. Ooh, hoo, 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 hoo.
Going around generic 25 Victor.
Generic 25 Victor, contact Phoenix approach on 133
Ooh,
575.
that's tough.
Good day.
All right, so we're just doing a fast climb out, 500 feet per minute.
133.575 generic 25 Victor.
And get about.
Cessna uniform, Mike might continue for north departure.
All right, I got you.
Prescott Tower, Cessna November Tree, 6 uniform, Mike continue for north departure.
So we'll just hand fly it here. All right, up we go. Yeah, we can go ahead and get everything set up here. Not sure why I'm in a descent here, but I am. think we'll climb out here, we'll get to a traffic pattern altitude here, and we'll just go ahead and reset and just get to that, get 1,000 feet here, then we'll reset the altimeter or the autopilot. All right, coming up on traffic pattern altitudes. Let's go ahead and set that, set the heading. We'll just hold that altitude for right now, so we can come over here and do a little navigation here. We can actually come in here and let's go ahead and activate this. Let's go ahead and set up the next waypoint here. So that should have set up the next waypoint. So we'll go ahead and get set up here. We'll head to the north. We'll come down here. And now let's go ahead and get our autopilot and the altitude set up here. So let's climb up to 10,500 feet.
Cessna uniform, Mike leaving my airspace frequency change approved.
Roger that.
Prescott Tower, Cessna November Tree 6 uniform, Mike frequency change.
All right, Drake to Bishop, here we go. So we can go ahead and go just almost due north magnetically. We'll go ahead and once we intercept our radial direct to BISOP, which is the intersection. So basically we're flying out of Prescott. We're going to come up here to an imaginary intersection of the airway, and then we're going to actually then make a right turn toward the Grand Canyon. So that's what we're doing here. So you'll see this needle right here start to center as we get close to get all lined up here. So it'll take just a little bit for us to get on that, but this is good right here. We are climbing up at 400 feet per minute, climbing on up to 10,500, because conceivably we're actually doing like 359 magnetically, and so we're actually going then west, so that's evens plus 500. So that's what we're doing. So up we go. And we'll go ahead and get up for just a nice cruise climb here, 2,500 RPMs. We can go ahead and turn off the landing light, and everything's looking good. Again, I like it. Fuel's on both, so up we go. We are now, needle is now centered, so now we can go on to nav mode. And so now the plane will start a left turn here to intercept that radial, and there we go. It kind of does like a little S turn to intercept. It's kind of interesting, but that's what it does. What's happening here? Not sure. Coming out of autopilot there. That's why you got to watch the autopilot. You don't know what it starts to do here. Alright, so what we're going to do then is we'll go ahead and autopilot on and go into heading mode. And we got a problem with the autopilot. Autopilot off. Something is not right with the autopilot, so we are going to go ahead and hand fly it up here. Alright, so we will fly it by hand. So when you get back on course, something's got us into a turn, and so we can come up here and just fly it by hand. Well, something's going on with nav mode, so we can try altitude hold and heading mode. So all right, so we'll just go ahead and keep flying up here. All right, so we can go ahead and center the bug. We will go ahead and go on, what are we at? We're coming up on 7,500 feet. So we'll go ahead and do altitude hold and heading hold. There we go. Now we can actually work with the autopilot and see what's going on here. So, all right. We're on altitude hold 7,400. Let's go ahead and set now for 10,500. 400 feet per minute climb. Oh, not 500, 400. We're getting higher and higher. We'll have to pull that mixture back, get some. So now we're in a nice climb. We'll use heading mode because something's going on with nav mode with the GPS. It's making it a little difficult there and a little scary. So we'll just go ahead and fly on up here. Once we get everything set and we're getting on course, then we can start taking a look around here. But here is Prescott. We flew out of Prescott last time, but we headed out west. Now we're heading north. So you can see how Prescott sits in this valley here. And over there is, out under the sun, is Sedona, which is really the starting airport for Microsoft Flight Sim. All right, we are coming up here now. Needle is about centered. It says we need to track. Direct track is 353. So we'll go ahead and turn just a little bit here and keep that centered. And fly on up here. Alright, getting a little slow in the climb, so I'm going to go ahead and make it 300 feet per minute in the climb. We're getting a little high. Let's go ahead and pull that mixture back here just a little bit. See if we can. Not really, so we'll go ahead and just give it a little bit of throttle. Go ahead and do 2,500 there. Alright, we're still tuned in to Prescott Tower, so we can actually go ahead and bring up ATC and do Vfr Flight Following. So we'll go ahead and tune to Phoenix Approach, and we'll go ahead and request Vfr Flight Following.
Phoenix Approach, Cessna November Tree 6 Uniform Mike is type Cessna Skyhawk 4 miles southeast of Alpha Zulu 27 8,200 feet. Request Flight Following.
Cessna November Tree 6 Uniform Mike Phoenix Approach.
Alright.
Squawk 5777.
Alright, 577, got it. So that's the nice thing about ATC is that it'll actually change it, so you can see it change.
Cessna Uniform Mike radar contact 4 miles southeast of Alpha Zulu 57 8,400 feet. Altimeter 29.92.
Alright, sounds good.
Roger, Cessna Uniform Mike.
So VFR Flight Following is pretty cool. So basically you're still VFR, you have to follow all the VFR rules, stay away from the clouds, stay away from certain airspace around airports and all this kind of stuff. But the cool thing about it is if they have time, then they'll actually just go ahead and watch you, show up on their radar, and they'll watch you, and they'll call out traffic. So that's pretty cool. So, all right, everything's looking good. We're in now a faster climb at 300 feet per minute. We're looking good as we climb up here. Might have a little bit of a wind now. Seems like it's blowing us a little bit off our heading, so we'll go ahead and just fly on out here. But here, looking good, passing through 8,500 feet. And here is, again, that beautiful Arizona high desert. It really made for interesting flying. Just because it was just always, it seemed like pretty good weather. And then you got this very interesting scenery. If you go out west like we did last time in the flight, you got the big mountains, you got just sporadic mountains. You can go south to a lower elevation into the desert of Phoenix and stuff like that. You could head east out over to the Red Rocks of Sedona, Flagstaff where they're skiing. There's just so much to do out here. It's just, it doesn't have the, obviously, like the campus in Daytona Beach, Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University, the campus down there in Daytona Beach. You know, you don't got the beach, you don't got the water. Of course, if you're really flying at Embry-Riddle, I don't know if they really go international and they, you know, go over to the Bahamas or anything like that, but you can do that too. But I came out here because I grew up on the Gulf Coast of Texas, so going to Florida, the campus in Florida, just didn't seem like to make a lot of sense. I wanted something different, so I came out here to Arizona. So, and just last December, Aunt Cindy and I, we went back here to where we got married and all this kind of stuff. So, all right, let's go ahead and look at our bug here. Yeah, it seems like we got a little bit of a breeze. Looks like maybe blowing us left to right, blowing us to the east. So just put a little bit more of that in, and let's go ahead and come over here to your seat over here. Yeah, well, you can take a look down as we head out to the Grand Canyon. So let's go.
Cessna Uniform Mike, contact Albuquerque Center on 128.45.
All right, we got to change frequencies here.
128.45.
So we'll switch on over. That's the neat thing again about using this, is that it changes the comm frequencies automatically for you.
November Tree 6 Uniform Mike 9,300 feet.
Cessna November Tree 6 Uniform Mike Albuquerque Center altimeter 29.902. Continue to buy
There we
as
go.
planned.
So there we go.
Albuquerque Center, Cessna November Tree 6 Uniform Mike 5 miles northeast of Alpha Zulu 57. Request IFR to Prescott.
Oh,
ready
nope,
to
I don't want
copy.
that.
Cessna November Tree 6 Uniform Mike is cleared to Prescott Airport as filed. Squawk 5777.
All right, well, we're...
Cessna November Tree 6 Uniform Mike.
I'll cancel that. Didn't mean to do a IFR. It really doesn't matter.
5777.
They'll just have us,
Cessna Uniform Mike, read back correct. Radar contact
because they're going to tell us to climb to a different altitude and stuff. So once this is all done, we'll go ahead and cancel that.
Turning and following heading tree 55, proceed on course climb and maintain 12,000 feet.
Yep, I hear you.
Continue to Bysop turning and following heading tree 55. Proceed on course climb and maintain 12,000 feet.
All right, so
Cessna
now we've got a...
Mike.
I don't want IFR.
Cessna Uniform Mike, you are 2 miles north. Descend and maintain 9,000 feet. Expect ILS runway 21 left approach via Crady transition. Clear to Crady.
I don't...
Cessna Uniform Mike, you are 2 miles north of Prescott. Contact
I've made it go
Prescott
nuts.
Tower on 125 decimal tree when inbound on the approach.
Tower on 125 decimal tree Cessna Uniform Mike.
All right, I have got...
Generic 74 Juliet, you
I've
are
got
6
this
miles
all
northwest.
jammed up here now.
Maintain 8,300 feet. Expect
Might need to
vector
just turn
zero
off
runway 21
ATC.
approach.
Hit the wrong button. So, if I tune to it, can I cancel? No. All right, let's see here if I can come in here and I'll just switch that over. I don't need to talk to them. We can maybe figure this out once we get back. So one of the problems with working with the confines of the AI and stuff here at Microsoft Flight Sim, hit one button and then it gave me the option there to cancel. So but we're looking good here. Actually, we can come over here. You can see our pink route here. We can come and zoom out. There we go. And now you can, if I zoom way out, you can see it, but we'll go ahead and zoom out to there so we can have a little bit better view of what we are doing up here. We're coming up on 10,500 feet. So the autopilot should hit that and we'll start to get into cruise. Since we don't even have a 100 knot cruise speed going on here. All right, here we go. Coming up on 10,500. All right, everything's looking good. So let's go ahead and now do some power management. Let's go ahead and just check our mixture. A little bit of, just a little bit of RPM loss there. So there we go. Let the plane kind of settle down, accelerate here. And there we go. We've gained about 15 knots or so. Ground speed is now 110 knots. So we're looking good here, looking good. Go ahead and, I'm not sure why Nav Mode is doing that. Should we try it one more time here, see what it does? Since we're on heading hold and stuff, let's see what happens. Ready? All right, we are no longer have our issue there with the autopilot. So we are in Nav Mode. We are at heading or altitude hold at 10,500 feet. So now we are just heading up toward the Grand Canyon. Out there on the horizon is actually just a little bit out at 1 o'clock here. But over there is Williams, Arizona, that first mountain, and then out in those higher mountains, those are the San Francisco peaks. That is where Flagstaff, Arizona is at. That's also where you have the Lovell Observatory, and that is the observatory that actually found Pluto. Now that right there is amazing. So again, I mean, if you just take a look out, this is what you get. Looking out the window in Arizona. A lot of public land, a lot of BLM land. I don't think there's a lot of forestry land out here, but a lot of dirt roads. You can go out, open range. It was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun out there. Put over here in the co-pilot seat. That way you can look out. Yeah, the other side of the San Francisco peaks over there to the right, that's where the meteor crater is in Winslow, Arizona. Standing on the corner of Winslow, Arizona. So we ought to do that flight. We ought to do out to Winslow, Arizona, fly over meteor crater, and then come back over Sedona and Jerome, and then back to Prescott. So we need to do that flight. Also, what other flight do we need to do? We need to do night down to Phoenix, and then we need to relocate our home airport. I think that's what we'll do. So we'll do 2 more flights, and then we'll relocate. I'm not sure where we'll relocate to, but we'll relocate to somewhere. But just as you can see, it's just beautiful country. Now you get up into the really up here into the pine forest. Just beautiful. You kind of get out of the high desert and up into the high pine forest. Flagstaff has a lot of forest. So, and basically what this route is doing is it's kind of taking us to the west to take us away from the airports of William and Flagstaff, but we'll fly over that on the way back. As we continue up here, we come over and look at our, so we got 119 knots over the ground. We've got 21 miles to Bicep. So everything is looking real good here. We're basically halfway or over halfway to Bicep. On nav mode, on heading hold. When we go to Bicep though, we're going to actually be turning, then we'll actually be going to the east. And so then we need to go ahead and change our VFR altitude since we're now heading east. We need to descend to 10,500 feet. Since now we're doing odds plus 500 because we're going on an eastern component. So we'll have to keep all that in mind. We have some weird things that we need to think about doing when we're actually going to fly right over the Grand Canyon Airport. They have a VOR right there, and so that is our waypoint. And then we'll actually need to head west, which means yes, we'll need to climb up, but then we'll turn to the right, and then we'll be going east or west, and then so we need to climb, descend, and then we'll turn to the east, and we need to reclimb. So because of all these VFR flight rules, so we're tuned into. That's interesting. We're on 124.850, and that's Los Angeles. So we don't need to listen to anybody, so we are going to come over here and just try that and turn that. There we go. Now the comm should be silent for us. But we are VFR, so if we wanted to, eventually we'll probably, if we want to, listen in to Grand Canyon and get their weather and all of that. So I don't know if I can even talk. Let's see what happens if I tune to contact the see if we can get this to recycle here. Let's see if I can cancel all this. Gives me more options now. Go ahead, acknowledge that. There we go. Now we can cancel IFR. Oh, we've been actually, yeah, we've been.
Prescott Tower Cessna Uniform Mike would
we
like
need
to
a
cancel IFR.
for
Cessna Uniform Mike IFR flight plan.
There you go.
Canceled. Maintain VFR. Make straight in runway 21 left. Altimeter 29.902.
We're all good.
Cessna Uniform Mike wind 260 at tree.
Just going through here to talking to tower, canceling everything.
Cleared for touch.
There it is.
Runway 21 left Cessna Uniform Mike.
Now we'll cancel.
Prescott Tower Cessna Uniform Mike cancel landing intention.
There we go.
Mike, your cancellation is received.
Alright, so now we can just, if we want to talk to Albuquerque Center, yeah, we can redo flight following here. Alright, not sure what happened to Albuquerque Center. 128.485, yep, we're good there. Maybe it's actually Stell VFR Flight Following. So but we are VFR, so it's not we're not IFR, so if somebody wants to talk to us, great. We'll see what we can do when we come back here. Maybe we get far enough away and things will reset, but clearly we have got the I have got the ATC here and the computer all, or for the AI for the computer all all fouled up here. It's just not liking me right now. So we're only about 12 miles here from our intersection for our airway at Bicop, where we'll actually make a right turn, which means we need to rethink then our altitude and go ahead and climb up to 11,500. We'll have an eastern component now to our direction of travel, which means we need to be at odd altitudes plus 500. So we need to think about that once we get there. So I just kind of repositioned my seat there. So how do I know where we're at? Well, if I come right down here, you can see that we are on the flight plan. We are Drake to Bicop, and we are 10 miles out. Ground speed 120 knots. Direct track is 353. So everything is looking good. We're autopilot's got us at 10,500 on nav mode. So when we come up here to Bicop and it switches over to the next waypoint, we should get a right turn. We just need to go ahead and monitor everything, because, well, you got to monitor systems, because you can't just easily pull over here and ask for directions or get help. So don't want our avionics or anything. And like in the beginning of the flight, had a problem there with the avionics. So, but we're back to squawking 1200. Everything's looking good. 1200 is the visual flight rules code on the transponder. So 1200 on the old. There it is. So we are back to VFR for a little bit there. We were squawking the wrong code when we had all that problems, but not, like I said, really quite sure what's going on. Oh, I can now turn to Los Angeles Center. Let's go ahead and talk to them. All right, it's not liking that. I tuned to it, but it's not giving me any options. So let's see what happens if I no. So it's not giving me any options to do anything else. So we'll just keep coming up here. So it looks like about 7 miles out from our waypoint. Like I said, we'll switch over. Again, we're back out here, out of the forest, back into the high desert of Arizona. But you got all this dirt roads out here, and a lot of this, like I said, most of this is public lands. So you got all these roads, pipelines, like we saw in the first flight. You know, you have drinking canals, all kinds of stuff up here. A lot of this also is Indian land up here too, as we get closer. Let's take a look at what we're doing. All right, 5 miles out. Looks like we got some type of little airstrip over there, probably for a ranch or something like that. You see our tail number there, 36. Uncle Mike. Looking good. All right, yep, 5 miles out. We are scooting right along up here. You can actually start to see how the north rim of the Grand Canyon is higher. So that's the north rim, that kind of like dome you can see on the horizon out there. Like I said, that's the north rim of the Grand Canyon. First thing we're going to be doing though is we're going to be heading over to Grand Canyon GCN, Golf Charlie November, the VOR up there by the airport for the Grand Canyon. So it's kind of a weird little path that we're going to take. Is we're basically going to come up to the Grand Canyon airport and then make a turn real quick to the west to pick up our first waypoint for the Dragon Corridor, which is what we'll take across the Grand Canyon, and then on the way back we'll take the Zuni Point Corridor to bring us back south. So we should get some nice views of the Grand Canyon. especially since we know we're doing this beautiful time of day, early morning, sunrise in Arizona. Just beautiful. Sunsets are also beautiful flight. We'll do a sunset flight probably when we do Winslow and Phoenix, just because then you really light up the red rocks of Sedona and stuff. So, all right, we're coming up on our waypoint here. 1 mile to go. We'll should see the avionics go ahead and switch it over now. We should see, instead of Drake to BISOP there on our Garmin 530, we should see this switch to BISOP to Golf Charlie November, is what that should eventually here say momentarily. So I'm just going to come over here and look over here so I can actually see all my avionics. So if when it switches over and if the autopilot decides to go absolutely cuckoo caca crazy, I know. So here we go. Here's that right turn. You can see that on our flight plan we're now making the turn to Golf Charlie November, which is Grand Canyon. And this is the VOR. This isn't the airport. That would be Kilo Golf Charlie November. And so yeah, everything's looking good. Looks like we are just about to complete the turn. And now we are heading up to the Grand Canyon. So now, if you see, we've gone past north. So now what we need to do is we need to climb up now. Climb up to, and since we're already pretty high, just a 200 foot per minute climb, nothing fancy, and just slow climb up here to 11,500 with a VFR altitude now odd plus 500 heading to the east, since we have an east component now. You know, while we make this flight, I am going to, we could actually, if we wanted to, let's see here, do some stuff here. Go ahead and see what happens here. All right. Well, while we make this leg here, it's only about a not too long, only a 20-mile leg here to come up here, but I will be right back. I will turn on some tunes here because, you know, you always got to have tunes. So I will turn on some tunes, and I will be right back. See you in a bit. here. As you can see, we are approaching the Grand Canyon National Park Airport, and I have screwed up ATC here, but we are VFR, so we will just fly the flight here and just sightsee and all that, but we will not be talking to air traffic control, it looks like, just because, well, somehow I have fouled that all up. But here we are. Now you can actually start to see the Grand Canyon. There is the south rim, and then off in the distance there is the north rim. We are going to be making a turn to the left and then a turn to the right for these defined corridors that you can fly across the Grand Canyon VFR. Anything below 18,000 feet, you need to use these 4 corridors. Our airplane can't go to 18,000 feet, so we are completely a VFR here. So we will need to follow those corridors, and we're going to use the Dragon corridor over here to the left, and to come back we're going to use the Zuni Point corridor, which is over here to the right. So those are defined GPS coordinates. We've only got here about 5 miles till we get to the VOR here at Grand Canyon National Park Airport, which is Golf Charlie November, and then we'll make a left turn, go over to our first waypoint for Dragon corridor, and then make a turn to the right and cross over the Grand Canyon. So that is what we are about to do. And since it's such a short little stint, we are not going to descend to 10,500, only to just have to climb back to 11,500. So we're going to stay at 11,500, and we're just going to keep our heads out of the cockpit here, looking for traffic. So probably one of the reasons to have VFR Flight Following on, but again, I have screwed that all up somehow by pressing the wrong button once, and that's how that happened. So all right, 3 miles, or a little under 4 miles. The VOR is actually right by the airport, so it's almost right off the nose. You can see how we're kind of pointing off to the left there. It's kind of under the canyon of Grand Canyon National Park here. This is something that the flight sim does very well, is actually putting on these points of interest, and so you can do that. So won't be able to, well, we'll be able to see probably the actual VOR. Like I said, it's right alongside the airport, kind of on the far side there. So we have got 2.5 miles to go. Of course, we've got altitude. We're about a mile high here, so, or about probably about 4,000, almost a mile high above the airport. So, pressed the wrong button. Let's make sure everything is still looking good. Yep, everything is looking good. We are about to come up to where we're going to make this turn to the left. And now you can see the VOR. I've got it right off the nose. That is Grand Canyon VOR right there. The actual building. It's a nice airport, the Grand Canyon National Park Airport. So we're going to make a turn here. Come over here to the left, then make one to the right and cross over the Grand Canyon. That is the Grand Canyon right in front of us. Go ahead and go in the cockpit. Let's watch everything actually happen here. There we go. We are now starting our turn to the left. Let's go ahead and just monitor the autopilot here, make sure it doesn't do anything a little abnormal for us. But it looks like it's got us in a nice turn. Like I said, it's not very far here. It's a, what is it? It's a 6-mile leg here. Looks like we got some type of unimproved airstrip out here. The ranch. Let's see if we can. Yeah, sure. Okay. Yeah. Looks like just northern Arizona land. So we come over here, you can see, you know, one thing that might actually help us, since we've got such a shadow in here, is turn up the dash lights. There we go. Now we can actually see it just a little bit better. Nice. Yeah, that'll work out. Now you can start to see this. Here is the Grand Canyon, and right out there, we'll pass by it off the right wing, is all of the basically what most people think of as the Grand Canyon National Park. Is all the visitor center, the El Tovar Hotel, which is the historic hotel which I've stayed in with my parents when I was, even before I came out to Embry-Riddle, Prescott. We've hiked the Grand Canyon several times. Once we start the Dragon Corridor, I'll talk about it more and kind of point it out. But down at the bottom of the Grand Canyon is Phantom Ranch, basically a campground, but it also has where you can actually rent little lodges. It's pretty neat. Little lodges down there, and you can spend the night and so on. And so I've done that with my whole family, Matt, my brother, and Dad and Mom, and then it was Dad, Mom, and me. We stayed down there another time. So yeah, it's really, really neat down there. And they bring food down, so they've got a mess hall, and so you kind of order your food and stuff, and they bring it down on mules. So we might be able to actually see some of the trails. So there's Bright Angel Trail that takes you also down to the bottom of the Grand Canyon and Phantom Ranch. There's also K-Bab Trail, done both of those. So, all right, let's go in the cockpit, see what we got. 1 mile here for our next, and so now you can actually start to see these corridors that we are going to be using. So there's our flight path. You see us cross over, then we'll kind of run east, and then we'll come back south. And so these are these planned corridors, and they're published. There's special flight rules, VFR flight rules, so you can get the GPS coordinates. So you can actually program those into your GPS on your plane in the real world also. So, all right, coming up here just a little bit, we should be switching over for it. There it goes. There's the switch over. Here comes our turn to the right, and we will now start to cross over the Grand Canyon. Look at that right there. That's a... Uh-oh. Let's check everything. Everything okay? I took a screenshot. Yeah, everything looks good. Okay. That was a nice screenshot. I had to say that looked good. So here we are now, and so we are starting now. This is the Dragon Corridor to cross over the... there's two other ones to the west. I don't know what they're named, but this is Dragon and then Zuni Point. So we will cross over, and that is the North Rim over there. I have never been to the North Rim of the Grand Canyon. That's kind of something that perhaps Aunt Cindy and I will do in Voyager sometime in our teardrop trailer when we start to do some of the big national parks like Yosemite, Yellowstone, Grand Tetons, maybe the North Rim, because she grew up in Arizona. That's where we met. That's where we got married and everything. So the Grand Canyon to us is something that we've already really, really done. So yeah, here is the Grand Canyon in Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020. So let's go in the cockpit so we can... Let's come over here in the passenger seat, and then so out there is the visitor center and the El Tovar and all that kind of stuff. That's the Grand Canyon Village stuff out there. See the Colorado River down there. Very cool. We're getting some turbulence here as we cross over the Grand Canyon. Go make sure everything's looking good. Yep, nav mode looks good. We're at 11,500. We have just barely an easterly component to our direction. So we are now in the Dragon Corridor, crossing over the Grand Canyon. And I will go ahead and I will be right back. You can go ahead and just enjoy the Grand Canyon. I'll turn on some music here again, and we'll look around and just enjoy the Grand Canyon. Alright, I'm back in the cockpit here. We're getting over here to the north rim of the Grand Canyon, coming up onto straight out there in that little valley straight ahead is our next waypoint, at which point we will then turn to the east and then head out over here to one of the highest points actually on the north rim, and it's actually right out there. I think it's like Imperial Point, Montezuma Point. No, that's not right. I don't know. It's called something, but it's actually one of the highest points in the park. So, all right, let's get back in the cockpit and just take a look here. So yeah, we've got 6.5 miles here to our next. You can now see here on the Garmin 530 what we're doing. So we've just gone across, just about to finish up the Dragon corridor, and then we'll head to the east, and then we'll come back by way of the Zuni Point corridor, at which time we should be going then a component of our direction to be to the west. So we need to descend back down to 10,500 feet. So we'll be a little bit lower when we cross to the south here. So once we get over to that our second waypoint here. Victor Papa Golf Charlie Indigo. We will go ahead then and descend down to 10,500. It'll be just like I said, just a little lower when we cross to the south. So just under 5 miles here to the next. Hope you've been enjoying the flight. It's beautiful in real life to fly over the Grand Canyon. Of course, I've done it many times in commercial aircraft, heading on east to see our best friends. My wife's, what we like to say, sister. Your Aunt Ruth and Aunt John. When we go out and see them out here in Vegas, so we get to see. Because a lot of times we actually fly right over Drake commercially. I mean, it's one of the big intersections heading out west. So you fly right over Prescott a lot of times when you come from South Carolina, where I'm at right now in the real world. So fuel looks good, engine looks good. We're still on this fast cruise, which is very nice. So 3.6 Uncle Mike here, our Cessna 172 is performing very nice for us tonight. And like I've already talked about, I will plan either a Meteor Crater flight to Winslow back over Sedona, and I will also plan a flight at night down to Phoenix Sky Harbor, because that was when I got my private pilot's license, and I said, kind of asked Dad, I was like, so, because Dad was ATP, flew in the Air Force, and he had, I think, just about every rating he could have as a pilot, all the way up to airline, transport certificate. And so I was like, so what should I do now? He's like, well, if you want to get good at flying and good on the radios, fly down and mess with the big boys. So I've looked at my logbook, and many times at night or in the evening, I would then fly from Prescott down to Phoenix Sky Harbor and mess with the heavies, right? The airliners and all that, because you got to be quick on the radios. You have to, understand, get in line, do what you're told, because you don't want to, as a Cessna 172, you really don't want to make an airliner go around. So, all right, we should be clicking over here. There it goes. So here is, I think this is the road into the north rim of the Grand Canyon. So I think there's actually, on the VFR chart, we're gonna skirt right by it, but it might actually be this right down here might be the highest point somewhere right here, and there really is a no-fly zone in this area, but we're basically gonna just about skirt it on the north side of that no-fly zone with this waypoint. So we'll just go ahead and do this, and again, this is a little bit longer here at 11 miles. Then we'll make our turn here and cross back over the Grand Canyon. And like I said, we'll have to descend, I think, down to 10,500 for this corridor, for the Zuni Point corridor. So it'll be a little lower, and I'll also point out where Phantom will be a little bit, I think, better view of Phantom Ranch down at the bottom of the Grand Canyon. But the north rim of the Grand Canyon, from my understanding, really seems to be much more woodsy and green, rather than the kind of the high desert. There's trees and stuff over on the south rim too, but I think there's a lot more over here on the north rim. But this should be really neat, because you'll also see the Grand Canyon. So we'll have a real nice flight here of the coming over here to the point. But look at this. This is beautiful out here. See how the Colorado River has just carved its way. And so back over there at my pointer right here, that's Flagstaff. And then out over here is Winslow, Arizona, way out on the horizon. So, and then if you follow the river up, you get up here to, this is where Page is at. This is where, like, what Glen Canyon Dam is at. All kinds of good stuff that you can really fly. I've never flown up there, never went that far north. So. Because then I did a internship with Cessna Aircraft Company. That's kind of why I really stopped flying. Well, I stopped flying after I went to Cessna. And so I did a couple flights out there, mostly just local. That's actually when I was doing my internship at Cessna, is where I actually landed on a grass strip for the first time. A rental Cessna 172 went out because a colleague, an older colleague, a mentor, he lived on a grass strip, and so I rented an airplane and flew out there to go fly with him in his home-built airplane. So that was really neat. So maybe you could do that in Microsoft Flight Sim. All right, 6 miles before we get to our next waypoint. But look at that. That is amazing. It's amazing country out there. If you ever get the chance to go wherever you are in the world, this is one of the natural wonders, if not the natural wonder of the world. And now you can really get a scale of it here with our little tiny Cessna 172 flying at 11,500 feet. Amazing. What it would be like to have a YouTube channel like Wonder Hussy, or where you could just explore these dirt roads and you had the vehicle do it and camp out at, in the right season. That would be amazing. That would be amazing to do. Because all of the abandoned stuff that is out west from the gold rush days, from the late 1800s, the early 1900s, absolutely amazing. All right, let's just go in the cockpit and just do a little airplane check here. All right, fuel looks good, fuel flow looks good, temperatures look good, oil pressure looks good, vacuum looks good, amps look good. We're a little under 4 miles to our next waypoint. Everything is looking good. And once we cross back over, then we're actually just going to use the GPS and fly just direct right back to Prescott. But yeah, just even in the flight sim here and on the Xbox Series S, I mean, the textures and all that, but you do get the scale of what it's like. Now we can come here, we can look down, we can see the Colorado River down there. Amazing. Alright, let's check autopilot, check everything. Alright, 1 mile basically, a little over 1 mile to go until we make. Let's go ahead and come up here. Let's go ahead and cycle down so you can see where we're at in the flight plan. There's where we are in the flight plan. Go turn off the cursor. And we're at our next waypoint, so here we go. Making the turn. Look at that. That is amazing. So now this is the Zuni Point corridor. Is that right in front of us here, I think, is Zuni Point. Oh, look at the moon out there. Oh, that's amazing. All right, well, let's go ahead and give you a nice view here of the Grand Canyon and Zuni Point as we head back. I will be back in a bit. I'll go ahead and turn on some tunes for you and enjoy your view and your flight here over the Grand Canyon. I am back here because one of the things that we have, or I don't know about we, but we are, we've actually got just a sliver of a eastern component, but I can tell you that the VFR chart for this actually does tell us that southbound traffic should be at 10,500, so we are going to go ahead and do that here. So we will start a descent down here to 10,500. So need to do that on that turn, so we're in violation there for just a little bit, but yeah, we will now get back and fix that error and be back down here. The 10,500 feet is what we're supposed to be. So, all right, well, enjoy the Grand Canyon and the music. back in the cockpit here. We are gonna play around here with our avionics and see about waypoint nearest. And now let's see here what we've got here. What is Val? Val is like 4 something G. So let's go ahead and see if we can. Nearest airports. Grand Canyon. Right here. Yep. So let's go ahead and enter that. There we go. And now let's go direct to there. See what happens here. Does it switch over for us? Oh, I need to activate it. Push this button. Still learning these systems. There we go. Now let's see what happens. Should be making a turn here. Direct to 40 Golf. And instead of flying back all the way back to Prescott, what we are going to do is we're going to come over here and enter the pattern at Vale. I think it might be Vale, I don't know, but 40 Golf is the airport. And so we have just told it to go direct there. COM is 122.8. So we can go ahead and dial that in, see what happens. See if it gives us any information in this. Nope, it is still stuck on, but we're tuned into the right thing, but it doesn't give us any choices of what to do. So, but we're 17 miles out, so we can go ahead and simulate that we are doing call outs here. Not sure what the wind is like either. I think it's probably still pretty calm. But we can do a flight, we can fly over the airport. So it looks like like I said, we can just do a flight over the airport. Looks like the runway is going to be something like runway 19. So 19 and 101 is probably going to be the runway, something like that. So, but there we go. We've actually just done a direct. And so we can come over here, we can go ahead and zoom in. And there we go. So we'll just do a little detour here. Since we've done the Grand Canyon, we flew out of Prescott, we can go ahead and land here at Vale. I'm not really sure how to pronounce it. It's V-A-L-L-E. So I don't know if it's Valet, Vale. So, but there it is. It just popped up, the point of interest. So 15 miles out. The airport is at 6,000 feet in elevation. So with that, we will start our descent. 6,000 feet in elevation. We will cross over at 7,500. So we're going to go ahead and start our descent. Come back on the power a little bit here as we accelerate in the descent down to 7,500 feet. And we go ahead and get rid of ATC because that's all gummed up here. So we'll call it Vale. So it'll be Vale traffic. And so what we can come over here and do eventually is go ahead and just come off autopilot. Actually, what we can do is we can just go ahead and go on heading mode here. We're on direct nav right now, but we can just go ahead and go. So I'll come up here on the center of the bug. Now we'll go on heading mode. And so we come up here is, since we're really kind of coming over, we probably need to hit it going due west, since we think looks like it's a north-south orientation of the runway. And so we'll come up, we'll get closer. At about 5 miles out, we'll head to make a turn really to the south, so the airport is abeam us, and then we'll make a turn to the west, and then we'll fly over. That way we can take a look at the runways and the windsock and all that, see if we can actually get an idea of the wind and make a determination of when we're ready to land. And we'll go on there and we'll just go ahead and land there, taxi and shut down at Vail here for our flight. Because we could do a flight back, all the way back, but there's not really that much to see on our route now back that we haven't seen on our route north. And so yeah, we can just go ahead and land the airplane here in Val, Arizona. Descending down through 9,400 feet, going to 7,500. So we're 1,500 feet above the airport, and we'll do basically a mid flyover, a mid-field flyover, break to landing. I'll fly that once we really get over the airport on autopilot, 7,500 feet, and I make a determination of what runway I want to land at. Then I will take control and we'll fly it with the Xbox controller. So if you're on the Xbox Series S and you want to get into flight simming, or you do, it sure is a lot of fun. It definitely keeps you current into the systems and all of that. Or if you're interested in learning to fly, I would recommend, if you have an Xbox Series X or S, get it. If you have a PC, get it. All right. Like I said, about 5 miles, we'll make a turn to the south, to the left, and we'll let the airport get over here to right off our right wing, then to the west, at which point then we'll go and we'll do a flyover. So, because it looks like the runway is like 19 or 20, so that's what we shall do here. Pass through 8,500 feet, going to 7,500 feet for that flyover to determination of what runway we want to use. All right, let's go ahead and start making that turn here. And if you want, we can come over here on the Garmin. Go ahead and bring that in there so we get close here, we can really see the airport. But let's go and see. We can take a look here. We probably can see this visually. So all those other air runways and stuff, I didn't know. Look at that. There's a bunch of runways, but the other ones might be closed. So, but yeah, I don't even know why Valet is out here. Probably railroad town. That's probably what it is. All right, 8,000 feet going to 7,500 feet. So basically west is right off the left wing here, so pretty much as soon as the airport gets under that wing here, and it's almost there, we can go ahead and start our turn to the west and get an idea, or turn right to the airport. So here we go. Let's go ahead and start making that turn here straight to the airport. All right. Okay. Coming up on 7,500, we are going to also start to come off the power here. Slow down for this so we can take a look, see if we can see the windsock at 1,500 feet here, make a determination. If not, we can also kind of get an idea of which way we're getting pushed. Drifting here. Yeah, I don't see much of a wind here, at least a crosswind on us. All right. All right, let's take a look here. Yeah, why is this town here? Looks like it's got some old runways, old Army Air Force base probably. Get in the cockpit, see if we can. What runway is that? We're overhead. We're gonna land down here. Let's see if we can turn to the west more here now. Oh, I just did that now. Looks like runway 19, doesn't it? No? 21? Alright, well, I'm gonna go, here we go. Alright, speed check. Alright, autopilot comes off. Speed check in the white arc, first notch of flaps. Start the descent down. Looking for about 70 knots here for right now with one notch of flaps. Alright, put in 2 notch of flaps. And we've got plenty of altitude here. We'll wait and put in our 3rd notch of flaps once we know we have the airport made at 0 power, at 0 throttle. Let's go ahead and looking good, I like it. Get back in the cockpit here. A little fast. Alright, looks like we definitely have the airport made. Idle power. We're gonna go full flaps. High, but I got plenty of runway here. High, and I am fast, so we got full flaps. Oh no, it is runway 01, not 19. Duh, I'm heading north. Oh, I don't like this. Oh, we're settling, we're settling. I think we're gonna have plenty. Okay, down, we're down. Let's go ahead and bring the flaps up. Well, it's a little tiny runway. I've never landed here in real life. Valid. All right, well there we go. Whew. Got a little nervous there. So I gather, yep, tarmac is over there. It looks like that runway is operational. It's just as the texture is weird. So we'll go all the way to the end. Get on the taxiway. Yeah, it was runway 01 and 19. Got a little slow there on that turn. Must be some type of elevation or something. There we go. All right, taxi back. Then shut her down. Was a pretty nice flight there. The approach was a little iffy here into into Vail, but we had plenty of runway for a minute there. I thought about doing a go around, but I figured we had enough runway to slow it down, and we did. It's like 4,000 feet, so I had plenty of runway. But it looked a little sketch there. I got real high, and that's one nice thing about these general aviation. And man, you come down quick. You come down so quick. You know, full flaps, nice barn door flaps. And here we are at Vail, Arizona. After flying over, I need to look up why Vail, Arizona exists. Like I said, probably a railroad town. All right. So not much modeling here for this airport. We'll just come out here. It looks like this is the fuel depot coming up right here. It does have a beacon though, and one hangar, and some cars, and a fuel truck, and a fuel depot. There we go. Parking brake set. Let's come down in here. Turn off all our lights. Things looking good. I like it. We can go ahead and turn down those dash lights now, or panel lights. And go ahead and turn off the transponder. Looks good. Pull the mixture. And engine shut off. There we go. Oops, avionics can... Ugh. Avionics can come off. And there's our flight. So an hour and a half in the air. Very nice. Very, very nice. But that was our flight here, flying over the Grand Canyon of Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020 on the Xbox Series S. And remember, thumbs up because you are amazing. And go out there, tell somebody else that they are amazing. Put a smile on their face. Also, please click that like button, activate the algorithm. That helps the channel. Subscribe if you haven't, and I will see you next time here on my channel. Bye.
It's so beautiful.
Right, need to shut it down. Gotta shut it down.
We're meant to be
Yep, you gotta shut it down.
great outdoors.
Go tie the airplane down so it doesn't blow away in the wind. That's what we gotta do.